Hi guys, Rick Malava here. CTB Ram is my nickname in the forums, and I just wanted to put this video together because Dave Rave just recently put together a little tutorial that demonstrates how to create a tank track. And I noticed something in the video that's bothered me about motion paths for a long time, and that is that as you take this track segment and you create the motion path around here, it gets to a certain point and it flips. And I can explain exactly why it flips and where it will flip. And the issue is trying to come up with a reasonable solution to make it where it doesn't flip. So first, let me show you what the issue is. Let me show you the solution that I think should work, that's relatively simple but doesn't work, and the solution that does work that's absurdly complicated but does work. So first, let's take this guy and this path and we'll create the motion path. This is what Dave covered in his video. Go to motion paths, attach to motion path, and I've already got it set up. I want to create 78 segments, and I want it to move in the Z direction, always face forward, and I want this object's up to be Y, which is this face always points up, and I'm going to use the world up that this object's vector is always going to point at to be, once again, 0, 1, 0, which is Y, so the world Y up axis, and hit apply. Okay, and now it inverts because I have this invert option clicked on here, so I'm going to hit Z to undo that, and I'm going to check that invert option, and then I'm going to apply it again. Okay, so now it goes around the path, but it flips at this point and it flips at this point. Right? And very quickly, the reason for that is if I come to this point and I've got this set to object axis, you can see that the y-axis of this object, the local axis of this object, if I was to draw a horizontal line through this, is pointing above the horizontal. Anything above the horizontal line is in the 0, 1, 0 direction, is up. Right? Anything below this plane is going to be 0, negative 1, 0. So if I go to the very next frame, right, you can see, once again, if I draw a plane through this thing, the y-axis is above the plane. If you could imagine this flipped the other way, the y-axis, the local axis, would be below the plane, which would be 0, negative 1, 0. So this is why it's flipping. Now, the next question is, what can we do to make it not flip? Well, I can tell you first off, there's nothing in here that will fix it. Normal won't fix it. Scene up is the same as world up, so that won't do it. The thing you would think might be able to do it, I used to know what this one does, object rotation up, but it won't help us. I know that for a fact. And also normal. What the hell is this thing's normal? I've clicked on normal and it doesn't affect anything, so there's some strange use for this that I'm not aware of. The only one that would seem that it should work is object up. So let me show you my solution for object up, why it should work and why it doesn't. Okay, or show that it doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't, but I can show that it doesn't. So let's first off start by putting this guy back to 0, coming up here and starting back over again by deleting the motion path that I just created. Take this guy up here, and now what I'm going to do is the same sort of a thing, but I'm going to make a little change. First, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to create a locator. Right? I'm going to pull the locator up here. I'm going to take this locator and sort of just eyeballing it, I'm going to move it so that it's above this guy. So this face is pointing toward the locator. You can kind of see where I'm going here. I take the locator and I parent it to the cube. So now no matter which way this cube rotates, this face is always facing this locator. So now if I take this object right here and I take this curve right here, and now I have to do this in 2 steps because I found if I do it in 1 step it does behave strangely and some just randomly. So the first step is to take this with the locator parented to it, go to animate, and create a motion path just like we did before, attach to motion path, and using all the same settings, just hit apply. Then once it's done that, come over here to the motion path node, and we're going to change this vector to object up, and we're going to change the object up to locator. Locator 1, and I notice it flipped. no matter. I should be able to pick the locator. If it flips like this for you, just take the locator and pull it back. Instead of pulling it back, let's take this guy. Can I rotate it back? Yes, I can. Okay, so just rotate it back. Take this guy. That flipping bit there also gets me a little confused why that happens. If I undo this, let's come back out and show you the other way. I thought doing it in 2 steps solved it, but let's try it in a single step. So I've got the cube, the locator's parented to it. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm just going to take this and go to animation, motion path, attach to motion path, options, and let's change it to vector right from the or object right from the start, locator 1, and hit apply. Okay, well that way works. So you can do it in 1 step. Now, if I scrub this, watch when it gets to the point where it flips. See, it didn't flip, so it's going right. It's working. Right? Now, here's the fun part. Depending on how quickly I scrub this, if I scrub it slow, I can go all the way back. Right? Now, I can do that at that speed forever. It won't ever break. While I'm in here, let me always remember to come in here and change that to linear. But if I take this and I try and scrub it too quickly, well, first, before I do that, let's show you what happens when I try to create an animation snapshot. So I come down here and try to create a snapshot and hit apply. And not only does it flip, but it's even worse than it was before. So that's the first thing I can't explain. I can scrub it. It should take a picture of it at every point. And it may have something to do with the speed I'm scrubbing it, because this, watch what will happen. I'll undo this with Z. And now watch what happens if I scrub the timeline really quickly. You see what happened? It just flipped. Now it's on the top and it's facing the wrong way. Right? I scrub it back and now it's facing out, and if I go slow, I can keep it at wherever it's at. But if I go fast, now it's rotated again. Now it's facing 90 degrees. And that seems to be where it stabilizes at. It rotates around, and it's not even 90 degrees. It's some wacky number here, to 170. It's rotating on every axis. But at this point, it seems like it stays. You see, they're not changing. It seems like it's staying, but it goes all wacky. So that doesn't work. So let me go back to before we attach it. So that solution won't work. It should work. I can't explain why it doesn't work. Before I show you the convoluted solution that does work, let me show you the solution I think Dave was demonstrating in his video that does work. I'm going to come here and create an animation snapshot again. Or, I'm sorry, attach to motion path first. And make sure we're back to vector. Make sure we're not inverted. Everything is right, and hit apply. Okay, now just come here. Now just come here and create the snapshot. Right? And then now just delete all the history. Come over here, edit, delete by type motion paths. Right? Take the snapshot we just created, and I did that too fast. Shift Z. And then before I create the animation, well, I can do it after as well. Shift Z. So there's a snap. Now before I break all the connections, once again I've got this tangency issue. So come up here to the graph editor and set that to linear. That fixes that problem. And now I can break all the connections, delete the history, come up here and delete all by type motion paths. And now I can take this animation snapshot we just created and I can pull it down here. Right? And then I can take this guy and this guy, create another, attach it to the motion path again, but this time invert it and hit apply. And then now create an animation snapshot of that. Create animation snapshot again. Right? animate, create animation snapshot. This is what happens when I rush. It actually costs me more time. And so now we've created that one. And now what I can do is let's delete all the history again, and let's edit, just so I don't forget to do it. Let's break the motion path again. Okay, I can take this guy now, just pull it out of the way. And once again, I screwed up. I always forget to do it. Shift Z. Come up here to the graph editor and fix these bleeding. I don't know any way to make this just always do it this way. It just seems like an auto tangent is the default, and so you got to come in after the fact and fix it. Otherwise this wouldn't work. So now let's delete the history on this guy again. Break all the connections, and now what I can do is I can take this one right here and pull it down here a little bit so I can get it out of the way, and just delete all the tracks that are facing the wrong way. All of these. Right? And then I can take this path, right? And I can delete all of the tracks that are facing the wrong way. Right? And then I can take this path and put it back, and take this path and put it back. There you go. There's the other way you can do it. Okay? So, and I can take this guy and pull him up here and set him back to 0. Okay, so there's the way you can do it. And then here's the crazy convoluted way you can do it. So let me get rid of these two halves. And so the first half of it starts out just like you would normally do it. We'll take the track itself and the curve, and we'll create an animation path. So animate, or we'll attach it to an animation path. So motion path. Right. So we want to make sure we're in vector, we're not inverted, and apply. Okay. So there's the first part. Now we know that I want to create a locator, and I want this guy to always follow the locator, and I know I can't parent the locator to this object. It won't work. So here's the other solution. We pick the curve, we go to edit curves, offset curve, and then go to the channel box here and change the distance so that we have a curve that's two concentric curves, and we've created this one outside of this inner curve. And now we create a locator, and we take this locator, and we take this curve, and we create an animation path, or we attach that locator to a motion path, right? And so now as I scrub this thing, you see they both move around. And the important thing is that the locator, they don't have to be in lockstep, but the locator is always facing away from this face, right? So the last thing to do is come back in here and pick this guy, go to its attributes, right? Go to its motion path, change it from vector to object up, change the object up name to locator 1, and now as you scrub this, it always faces the locator, right? Crazy Rube Goldberg way to do it, but it actually works. And what's more is I can come over here and hit animate, create animation snapshot, and I can create an animation snapshot, and voila, that works. So there you go. There's two ways to get the track to always face the right way. I don't know why if anybody can explain why parenting this locator to this object doesn't act as strangely as it does, I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, I hope this helps you guys out. Oh, I'm noticing here once again, just for completeness, I always forget this, really important. Come up here, see how the tracks are all bunched together and they're spread a little farther than they should be down there. If I change this to linear, boom, that fixes the problem. It also makes it go crazy because Why does that make it go crazy? Oh, you know why it makes it go crazy? I know why it makes it go crazy. Got to remember now, you have two things that are following the path. This guy's following the path, so I need to fix its tangents, right? And this guy's following the path, so I have to change its tangents. And there you go. All right, so now it looks right. So there you go. So everything's right. So remember, the tangents are really important on these motion paths. At least in my 2012, they act weird. So there's the two solutions. Anybody can come up with a reason why the just parenting solution doesn't work, I'd appreciate it. And once again, thanks, Dave, for putting your video together in the first place to show how to do this. And I hope this helps you guys figure out, at least gives you two ways to figure out how to fix that that flipping solution. One is just create the motion path or the snapshot twice and just delete the halves that are bad and then recombine the two halves. Or this crazy convoluted way of offsetting the curve and then creating two separate motion paths and then create the snapshot. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. Hope this helps out.